You've just tuned in to NNUTS podcast. Yeah, that's right, NNUTS. Nothing new under the sun. So make sure you tune in, because this is where it's at. You don't want to miss it. You hear me? Let's go. Into the UTS. Into the UTS. Into the UTS. Into the UTS. Nothing new under the sun. And yeah, we're the best. Into the UTS. Into the UTS. Into the UTS.
What's up, everybody? This your boy Brian, and I'm back like I never left. I'm with the next episode of my podcast, Nothing New Under the Sun. And this is a little bit different. I'm trying stuff. I'm trying to make it better. And I'm going to start this off with a clip. I want you to listen to the clip, and I'm going to let you know how I feel about the clip when you come back. Check it out.
You wrote that piece for the New York Times, and not only did I read what you wrote and watch the video, but I also read the comments that were appended to it.
Yeah.
Many of them were supportive, but many of them, Meek, said, hey, you're not the right guy to take on this fight. I can put one on the screen of just something that was typical. I'm not defending our criminal justice system at all, but let's look at the facts. It was more than just a wheelie. We don't know his juvenile record. He got probation, on and on and on, got convicted for selling drugs, possessing a firearm. Essentially, it makes the argument you didn't play by the rules. And if you had played by the rules, I'm going to give you the chance, but if you hadn't played by the rules, you wouldn't have had issues with the system.
I always dreamed too of being like on like CNN and being able to express myself and speak for like the voiceless young men of America. The first step I would say, I grew up in America in a ruthless neighborhood where we're not protected by police. We grew up with people selling drugs on our neighborhood, on our front steps. We grew up in ruthless environments. We grew up around murder. You see murder 7 days a week. I think if you grew up in my neighborhood, you see 7 people die a week, I think you would probably carry a gun yourself. Would you?
Yeah, I probably would.
Yeah,
yes.
if you seen your neighbors and family members, or you seen one of your best friends you grew up with get your brains blown out, I think you would want to protect yourself.
So, the guy was basically asking Meek Mill, is he the candidate, is he the person that could represent is he the right person to represent criminal justice reform? And I thought about it, like, at first I just thought like Meek Mills just couldn't get right. I know a lot of people like that, like they give him opportunities and they can't get right. But then when I got to reading his story and understanding his story, I say, yeah, well, for one, I want to say a resounding yes. Meek Mills can represent criminal justice reform. And I'm going to say that because not only has he been a victim of the criminal justice system, but he's also been a witness to the criminal justice system. When I say a witness, you see what it does to the community. You've seen what people with bum raps, what happens to the community, and people don't really understand how that feels. Like when the message came out, sometimes it makes me wonder how I keep from going under. Like, so to grow up, and Meek Mill's hit up, to grow up in his neighborhood and understand the way that life came to him and what he had to do to survive is probably a lot different than a lot of people believe in the United States, right? So as he put forth that vision, I thought about how I have seen criminal justice system mess over a lot of good people, because a lot of people say wrong place, wrong time. But when you live in the wrong place, the wrong time is relative, right? And I say that from experience. I say that from leaving my father's house and driving down the street, and they want to stop me and don't have a reason to stop me, but you see the pine trees on my rear view and you give me a driving obstructive view, or you see the license plate, advertisement license plate around my license plate, and you give me a ticket for that. So I want to just say that when you live in a collective where they treat you like it's a criminal cesspool, and you more apt to being felt like you're guilty when you haven't did anything than innocent, it's a different. Those are the people that need to represent criminal justice reform. And then you say that, and I can give you some examples of why there needs to be criminal justice reform. For one, if we just look at like the DNA clearances, there have been so many cases where it was supposed to be rock solid cases against it. It was capital punishment cases that they've overturned because DNA says, guess what? It was not them. So for you to believe 100% in this system and not understand that at least I'm not sure how many cases, I probably should have looked it up before I said something about it, but DNA clearances from capital murder should be at least one thing where you can say it could be some reform. Another thing, just the statistics on how white people and black people are charged with the same crimes, but how black people end up spending more time or having a harsher punishment because of it. And again, when you come from the cesspool, they like to treat you from the cesspool, even though you haven't even though that's not how you live. So that's just another example. And then we can look back at history. After the Civil War and after Reconstruction, you know what they started doing to make sure they had people to work the land? Man, they started giving them tickets for not being able to, it's history. And if you go back in history, you can see where they basically sharecroppered slaves into reworking as slaves because of the criminal justice system. So I'm gonna just give you those three examples and say, hey, go check that out and understand how it could look if you look from a different perspective. Like, I'm challenging people to look from a different perspective, not just look from your own perspective, because the way you know the world may not be the way that everybody sees it. And I'm trying to articulate a way where you can say, look, but dang, maybe he's right. I check the history, right? And these are facts. These are facts. Like, you can look it up on Google. Like, check it out. Like I said, I'm not here to tell you the truth. I'm here to help you seek the truth. I'm here to make your mind start to wonder, could this be right? All right. On top of that, I'm gonna just move right into the Mills section of it, and we're gonna talk about the new album that Meek Mills dropped. And he got a track on there with Jay-Z. And Jay-Z basically rhymed something that I've been saying for years, right? As a professional myself, he said they try to separate you when you got talent in your DNA. Well, there's been times where I worked at, and I've been told, not you, Brian, you're different. And I had to reintroduce, I had to let them know, like, look, I'm not different. I came from the same streets that they came from. I took advantage of my opportunities, right? But some people get hit so hard they can't even see their opportunities. So don't give me a pass, and don't say that I'm different from where I grew up at. I'm not different. I just took advantage of some opportunities. And when Jay-Z put that down, it was like, yo, when you like got Michael and Prince DNA in you, they separate you. Like, and then if you keep going into that whole song is like that, like they put some facts on it. So check it out. And this, it's what's free is a track of the song. But yeah, that's what Jay-Z, we there, dog. We there. He also spoke on Kanye, but I refuse to talk about Kanye anymore. So whatever. The other part of that is Black, right? It's actually 6 LACK. I've been vibing with this dude for a while. Like, this dude and me are on the same tone. I mean, on the same plane. And when I say the same plane, like his first album, he got this song called The Worst Luck. Or he also has a song where he said he gonna learn you. And it's basically like pointing out these things where people say one thing but do another thing, right? You say you want to be great, but you're sleeping into the next day. You can't be great and be asleep all day. That just don't happen, right? So with that being said, that he got his newest album, which I wasn't feeling as well as his first album, Free Black. The first album, Free Black. His newest album is East Atlanta Love Letter. On that album though, he got a song called Sorry, and I'm gonna get into my feelings. But he got a song called Sorry, and at the beginning of the beginning of the track, he got a lady on there, and man, she said exactly what I've said multiple times over. She said something to the fact that I'm following my dreams. Hold on, let me see. I'm following my dreams. I'm chasing my dreams, and I'm accomplishing my goals. Again, I'm following my dreams. I'm chasing my dreams, and I'm chasing my goals. And that's the prefix to the song, because in the song, he went off on, like, it's the conflict, right? The conflict in what he loves doing, his job, music, and his girl, right? And that conflict is it's like making the choice about his passion, about preparing for the future, and about not being a loser, and about making, like, shooting a shot and making everything count, is in direct conflict to being in a relationship with the love of his life, right? And so now that the love of his life feels like she's coming in second, and it shows in some of his actions. And like so the other line from this song that kind of really hits home is like, you love somebody to where their heart becomes your own, like. When you love someone so much that their heart becomes your own, right? And a lot of times you think it's him being selfish, the person that's going after their dreams or whatever, being selfish. But in all actuality, when he's in this relationship, or like I feel like when you're in that relationship and you fighting for and you know that person comes second to your goal of being able to provide and being able to create your legacy, right? Then you know that all it does is hurt them, and so you get to that notion of saying, "Dang, I'm hurting the person that you love, and I care more about your heart, so I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna let you go, and I hope you find some. I mean, like, I'm gonna be all right, but I hope you find somebody." Yo, check out the song. It's called Sorry. I'm gonna do this a few more times because there's a couple of tracks. I'm gonna go back in the crates, and there's a couple of tracks that I want to talk about and kind of point out some of these things that I see and wonder if people really catch it.
Giving you the real.
The notion that school is free, public schools are free, is a blissful lie. It's ignorance at its very high. Like, public schools are not free. Public schools are paid for by people who pay property tax or other property tax and sometimes sales tax. But public schools is not free. And I'm saying that because, like, we as we've been sold the dream that, hey, the public schools ain't that great. You got to understand, like, the people that paid for me to go to school, like, they paid it forward. They gave me an opportunity to go to school. They actually invested in my education. And I don't think that we look at it like that anymore. I don't think that we look at it like that public school is not something that we're paying for, right? It's something that we're paying for, and it's something that we should definitely look for a return on. And as I'm saying that, I'm also saying that this idea that you don't need to, this idea that, hey, I went to school, I went to public school, I got free public schools, and now I shouldn't have to pay taxes. I shouldn't have to pay that much taxes for the school because, you know, I don't want to pay that much taxes. I don't go to school, I don't use the school, but yet you did use the school. And that's why a lot of states have you, like, when you're 65, it might give you a senior exemption, but that's because you didn't pay for 45 years of for schools or whatnot, and that's okay. But I think as they talk about giving waivers to people that want to send their kids to different schools that's not their public schools, I want everybody to understand that we have ownership in these schools, and we have just like we're shareholders in the school. When you own property around it, you're also shareholders in the school because that school dictate your property value. So let's get this notion that public school is free. Like, it's deferred investment. It's deferred investment. So I say that to say, look into your investment and make sure you invest in your fair share into the next generation while you're trying to cut taxes, cut. Understand that some of these cuts cut into the heart of the school, and you owe that school. You owe these schools. You owe these schools because if they didn't prepare you, they prepared your neighbor. And getting that education is one of the most important things that you can get in your life. And I'm not just talking about school education, but the social education that you get with going to a public school. So the notion of public schools, don't miss that investment. Make sure that you're paying your fair share of taxes. Make sure that you invest in the next generation like the previous generation invested in you.
What the world?
On my last podcast, I talked a little bit about what my mom gave me. The legacy that my mom gave me is that I can do anything I need to do because I'm her son. I can do anything in the world because she did any and everything in the world to make sure that we have what we needed, right? And we don't need nobody to do it. Well, part of that is true and part of that is false. I figured out in the last maybe 6-8 months that I'm failing at life because I didn't catch myself. I cannot do everything by myself. As I work on these projects, as I work to build this legacy, I cannot do it by myself. And if I have to do it by myself, then it's probably not something big enough to be a legacy project. You understand what I'm saying? So I have that independence that my mom bred into me, but that independence has also stifled my growth because as I want to grow and I want to get better at building things that last multiple generations, I realize I can't do that without a team. And I realize that I've failed on so many things because I didn't build a team to help support those things. And that is humbling, but it's also never too late for me to learn, right? So I'm building teams. I'm understanding that I need to be able to share my vision. In this day of work, in this day and time, if you can't share your vision and get at least 2 people on your vision, then man, you're left behind because everybody got at least somebody who got 2 things in common, right? So, and I say that to say that my business and my business mind is kicking in to do some great things. And I had to learn, and like if anybody follow me on social media, y'all will see this big campaign basically just building my team and figuring out how these pieces fit together. Because building a dream, 90% of it is being able to communicate your dream to more than one person. So, or your vision to more than one person, and them to share your vision with you, and then to add to your vision. So it's real important that I clarified it, because I said I was going to get back to it. Like, being independent is great. Being able to say, yo, I'll go out there and get it on my own is great. But just remember, you can go out there and get it on your own, but also don't forget that one person doing it ain't better than two, ain't better than three. In the projects that I've had, multiple people and multiple groups of people working on it with me, they went along like a charm. And like I was just like, wow, I did not even think about that. But when I had multiple people working with me, and I had multiple people sharing my vision, and I had multiple people being able to help me with my vision, man, beautiful things happen. Beautiful things happen. And I am working on myself. And working on myself is understanding that I can't do it alone. So, if you get an email, if you get a tweeter, if you get a tweet, yo, I'm being sincere, I need you on my team, I need you to see what I see, and I need to build. Let's be great. And never, ever, ever, ever try to never disrespect yourself by dreaming big but thinking small. And that's what got me. Dreaming real big but thinking small. All right, that's your episode. Peace.
Check out NNUTS, nothing new under the sun.